Hi, this is from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today, book of the Berenstain Bears, Get the Gimmies, for 1988. So let's get started. Of course, the member of the Bear family who lived in a big tree house down a sunny dirt road in Bear Country love each other. They love each other very much. Brother and sister love their mama and papa. Naturally, Mama and Papa Bear loved their cubs. And of course, they were nice to them, as nice as they could be. But sometimes they were too nice. Sometimes the Cubs got too many treats, too many toys, and too many rides on the Buck and Duck at the mall. Maybe that's why Brother and Sister Bear got the gimmies. Or maybe it was because there was treats, toys, and fun things to do whenever they looked at the supermarket, at the mall, on TV, in just about every which way. Maybe that's why they began making a fuss to get what they wanted, especially at the supermarket checkout, where there was always stacks and stacks of candy and other goodies. Now, Cubs, Mama Bear said as the family got into the checkout line, and she saw that old gimme gleam in their eyes. We can't have a big fuss every time we pass candy. It simply won't stand for it. But Mama Wine Sister, they have gummies, gummy balls, my favorites, and chewy chompers, my favorite, whined Brother. Now hush, said Mama. I simply won't listen to another word. That's when Papa Bear smiled and said, Now, Mama, you're only young once, and handed the cubs their favorite treat. It's only it's only too true, said Mama as they was leaving the supermarket. That's you're only young once, but that's all more reason to learn proper behavior while you're still young, and I certainly think. Look, look, shouted Sister, a new ride. Hey, a bucking frog, shouted Brother. That look even better than the buck and duck. May we ride it, please? May we, please? Now Papa had just bought them treats, and he thought that was enough for one day. But the cubs made such a fuss that he sighed, dug in his pocket, and put some money in the slot. Papa looked at Mama and shrugged. Cubs will be cubs, he said. It may be true that cubs will be cubs, said Mama, as they walked across the parking lot to their car. But that's no excuse for jumping up and down and making a scene every time they want something. Look, look, shouted the cubs. Once again, little rubber cats that stick out their tongues when you squeeze them, Cubs, said Mama. That will be quite enough. I don't want to hear another word. Oh, please, they shouted. May we have them? Please, please, please. Papa decided it was time to put a stop to all the fussing. Stop that fussing, he said in his loudest voice, a loudest Papa Bear voice. But they was making such a commotion they didn't even hear him. Sister was jumping up and down so hard that she fell over backwards and started kicking her feet in the air. Please, please, shouted the cubs, so loudly that the whole parking lot took a notice. Said embarrassing Papa to the toy seller. Two of those rubber pussycats, please. The rubber pussycats not only stuck out their tongue when you squeezed them, they went squeak squeak as well, and they squeaked it all the way home. Mama was quite annoyed by the time they got back to the treehouse, but Papa was so angry he couldn't hardly speak. It wasn't until the cubs had gone about their business and Mama had made a pot of tea. That Papa's voice came back louder and clear. All the outrageous, disrespectful, embarrassing behavior I had ever seen, he roared. That chauffeur greedy performance by our cubs was the worst. Brother and sister had the worst case of the goblin greedy gimmies I had ever seen. Yes, said Mama calmly, sipping her tea. But have you ever stopped to think about why they have the gimmies? Perhaps their greedy behavior isn't all their fault. Perhaps it's partly our fault for giving in every time they make a fuss. Papa listened quietly. Perhaps so, he said. It's up to us, she continued, to explain things to them, to help them understand why it's important not to be greedy. Then Papa called the cubs in for a talk to, what, to a talking to. He told them why it wasn't a good idea to be selfish and greedy and want everything in sight. Selfish, greedy cubs, he explained, can never be happy because you just can't have everything you want all the time. Life isn't like that. Do you understand? Oh, yes, Papa, we understand, they said. He taught them about counting their blessings, what meant enjoying the things they had instead of forever wanting more and more. Does that make sense to you? He asked. Oh, yes, Papa, they said. It makes a lot of sense. That's when the cubs heard the sound of a familiar car door. It was Grizzly Gramp, and Grant came to call. Brother and sister ran to open the front door, and as Gramp and Grant came up the steps, they made the biggest fuss yet. What you bring me? They screamed. What you bring me? What you bring me? That did it. Up to your room, roared Papa. Up to your room and no TV or treats for a week, for a month, for a year. The cub knew this wasn't the time to argue. They scattered up to the stairs and into their room. We seem to have come at a bad time, said Grant. What about those things we brought with us? Asked Gramp. A puzzle for brother and a toy and a top for sister. Your present will have to wait, Gramp, answered Mama. I'm afraid brother and sister have a bad case of the gimmies. The goblin greedy gimme, added Papa, the worst case I had ever seen. The cubs opened their door and cracked to listen. The worst case yet, say? Gramps, looking Papa in the eyes. Seemed to me you was quite a gimme cub yourself when you was little. Brother and sister sneaked to the top of the stairs so they could hear better. I was, said Papa. Of course, we didn't have the mall or supermarket back then, but there was old Ralph Grizzly General Store. Wonderful place. Sold just about everything. Honey cakes, licorice sticks, molasses apples, and all sorts of toys and novelties. And did you ever have the gimmies? Did you ever? You wanted everything in sight. Downright embarrassing. Why, it got so bad we couldn't go there anymore. So we worked out a deal, said Grant. When it came time for a trip to the general store, we had you decide on a treat ahead of time. It could be a sweet, a toy, or a book. And that was it for the day. Right, said Gramps. And if you came down with the gimmies, we went right home and you got nothing. That sounds like a pretty good plan to me, said Mama. Me too, said Papa. The cubs tiptoed back to their room. It sounded okay to them too. The next time the Bear family went to the supermarket, they tried Gramps and Grant's plan, and it worked. Brother decided he would get a book about dinosaurs, and sister wanted a new box of crayons. Mama and Papa was very proud when the cub passed the candy rack, went out so much at a peep. Brother and sister was pretty proud of themselves too. But then they heard it, the familiar sound of a cub with a bad case of the gimmies. The kicking, screaming cub was just behind them in the checkout line. You never heard such a fuss went out. Wait, what outrage, disrespectful, embarrassing behavior, said sister. May we leave? Yeah, said brother. Let's get out of here. And that's how brother and sister bear got rid of the pretty bad case of the gobbling, greedy gimmies. So that was the Berenstain Bears Get the Gimmies from 1988. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.